And the Home Secretary, it's interesting, of course, this is the same woman who wants to send asylum seekers to Rwanda. An authoritarian dictatorship, by the way, far away from where they want to go. But I know that the Assange legal team, who do such a great job, will bring everything to bear to fight this extradition and to fight two very corrupt and authoritarian and undemocratic governments, and by that I mean the US and the UK. Yes. Why did people not say so much when I said that? But anyway, you know, I remember when Joe Biden was running for president, we were told we had to vote for him because he provided harm reduction. That was the term. An admission, first of all, that he was a terrible candidate and that the only reason people voted for him was to get rid of Trump, who was supposed to be so much better than. Although, what has he done? He continued this prosecution of Julian Assange. It started with the Trump administration. So this person we were assured was going to be so much better is equally bad. I said that the US and the UK are not democratic, and I think it's important to point that out. We can't talk about Julian, we can't talk about his situation without just saying that. Let's talk about how he was removed from the Ecuadorian embassy in the first place. The US interfered in the Ecuadorian government, interfered in their election. And the UK, of course, is the #1 vassal for the US. And their security state operatives tried to help Hillary Clinton defeat Donald Trump. So yes, there was foreign interference in the 2016 election, but it didn't come from Donald Trump. I wanted to talk about why Julian Assange is such a threat to the US and EU and NATO. And here's an example. In my work with Black Agenda Report and Black Alliance for Peace, of course, we amplify Haiti. And what does Haiti have to do with Julian Assange? Well, WikiLeaks revealed diplomatic cables showing how badly that country was treated by these countries that are supposed to be so great, that are supposed to be democracies. In 2011, they released diplomatic cables, and it was titled WikiLeaks Haiti, WikiLeaks in Haiti, U.S. cables paint portrait of brutal, ineffectual, and polluting UN force. There were 2 coups against elected governments in Haiti. The UN and the US and the EU, they called the core group who decide everything about Haiti. But in this case, they said UN troops had to be sent there. And what did Haiti get for its trouble? Cholera. They literally brought cholera to that country. They interfered in elections. They killed innocent people. And the UN, I'm afraid, we have to add to that list of undemocratic institutions. So it cost $800 million, and led by countries like Brazil with the support of other Latin nations, continued this occupation. Now, we're told this was a failure. This was a failed mission. Well, it wasn't failed. They do what they intended to do. And the intention is imperialism. The intention is to allow the US and its allies to control the rest of the world. And these cables and other that's just one example of the good work that WikiLeaks did on behalf of people all over the world. They revealed the brutality of the supposedly advanced countries, the so-called free world, and their brutality particularly towards the global south. So we're talking about ongoing corruption, criminality, and imperialism exercised by the US and by the UK. And that's why they hate Julian Assange and want to make an example of him. And, you know, it's a funny thing. The January 6th hearings are going on now. And what does everybody say? They were trying to steal democracy. They were trying to steal democracy. I don't think they were. But But we always hear that. And we hear it this time is for the most cynical of reasons. We're supposed to overlook what Biden is doing all over the world, that he has continued the sanctions against other countries, continued the Trump's withdrawal from the Iran nuclear deal, and so on and so on. But they love to throw around the word democracy, which we actually don't have, and there are people who've done papers which prove we don't ever get what we want, so I'm guessing it's not a democracy. So who could be more inconvenient than someone who exposes these criminals for what they are? And so at this moment in history, when the Biden administration was going to have a disinformation governance board, when they send $40 billion to Ukraine and claim the police in this country need $30 billion. So why not talk about that? Very good. So, but we are here to talk about Julian and our need to support him and our need to spread the word. And I've found that when you have a chance to actually talk about him and talk about what he's done, talk about what he has not done that he's accused of, that people support him. We should not assume that there's so much propaganda that he cannot be helped. That's not true. But this has got to be part of a larger mass movement to fight against these forces that I have just spoken about. So you have to read In Defense of Julian Assange. I'm one of the contributors, and if you haven't read it, you should. So thank you. So thank you all for being here, and let's do everything we can to fight for Julian, to try to keep him out of the clutches of this country, and should that happen, unfortunately, to fight even harder. Thank you so very much. Did I
No, you were great. You were great. If I don't get these seats filled up, I'm going to have everyone take a chair out and sit out there. I want people on the sides. It's a fire hazard to be standing up there, so I'm asking you to come over here. Otherwise, I got to break these chairs down. That's going to take us 10, 15 minutes. We'll have to stop the show. So come on down to get dinner for two at the falafel stand on 6th Avenue and 8th Street. Mamoons. It owns most of the NYU, and Mamoons owns the entire village. Did you know that? There's a falafel stand that I first moved to New York City in 1980 called Mamoons on McDougal between 3rd and Bleecker, and they only take cash. So the guy's expanded, even though he had a drought there when Giuliani cracked down on marijuana. He lost a lot of his customers at 3 o'clock in the morning. But Mamoons, that guy owns a lot. Not that I'd eat there. All right, so can you at least put your feet on the chair to make it look like there's somebody sitting there. Where's the horn player? Right there. Oh. What are you doing over there, man? You like the dark, man. All right. I'm Holly Martin. All right, how's the sound? Is the sound, can you kick up the sound a little bit? Because I can't hear myself.
Fine, we can.
You can hear me okay. All right. Okay. I'm not using the mic. I'm like, what's his name? Richard Burton. I'm going to work the crowd from here. All right? How you doing over here? I'm intimidating you? This is easy to do. Anyone can get up here and do this. All right, we have some great performers and speakers tonight. Seriously, we really do. We're going to go on. This is John and Gabriel Shipton, who've been crisscrossing the country once again. John and Gabriel Shipton. business for 47 years. I never got that. All right, so they're going to come up later. Let them relax. It's amazing how much stuff they've done. They're doing around the clock. Australian TV at 2 in the morning. We're there. British television, New Zealand television, Japanese television. They're all day long. So they're going to come up later on, and I don't know. I think is Seven going to introduce them? But I know she's going to deliver a fiery speech tonight. This great German legislator that's over here doing amazing things, working with them and working with Congress and trying to get this thing going. And really, I think it's don't you think it's really snowballing right now? That the momentum is going in the right direction. It may not be with Priti Patel and those people, but I think internationally it is moving, and we have to continue to fight. So. I don't want to hear hope so. You just say yes. I'm looking for affirmation. I'm not looking for debate here. All right. You got her pissed off. That kind of shit. All right. So coming up right now is we're going to do comedy, speaker comedy. Aramante is going to come up in a few minutes if Katie has shown up yet. And we have Stephen Donziger later on. But right now we're going to bring up one of the comedians who did our show in D.C. I think it was April 14th there. He was there, and he's one of the correspondents was for Redacted Tonight. But of course, we know what happened to Lee Camp and Redacted Tonight. They don't want to have that kind of information getting out there. They'd rather hear. We have to watch Ari Melber. We have to watch Wolf Blitzer. We have to watch that kind of shit. That's being force-fed. You can't have anything nutritious. You got to have this. Only going to be force-fed Wolf Blitzer and Jake Tap Dancer. Nothing but shit, man. That's like the worse than McDonald's. I mean, you gotta eat that stuff every day. Wolf Blitzer, Jane Tapper, and Lawrence O'Donnell, and Chuck Broad. You know, the worst. Chuck Todd. He's a great journalist. He put his fingernail on the line one time. All right, so coming up now is a great comedian. He's wonderful in D.C., and he spoke at 2 of the rallies down there. All right, 2 of the rallies in D.C. in front of the DOJ and in front of the British embassy in D.C. and he really is very funny. And we're going to keep moving this along in spite of my protracted interstitial shit here. All right, so John F. O'Donnell, give him a round of applause.
How we doing? I am absolutely honored to be here. I'm John. Pretty sweet, huh? Check it out. Who is John? I'll tell you. I am a sober, vegan conspiracy theorist with bipolar disorder who lives with his mom in suburban New Jersey. Yeah. No. Yeah, I do not sound cool on paper. But let me explain myself. I'm sober because I have bipolar disorder, so I have to be, according to my doctors. Plural. I'm vegan also because I have bipolar disorder, because it's important for my brain to have a low inflammation diet, and a good way to do that is to be vegan, so I'm vegan. I'm also vegan for ethical reasons concerning the environment and animal rights. Is what I tell aging hippie boomers so they'll give me hand jobs. What? What? I'm a conspiracy theorist because I'm paying attention. Are you kidding me? Have you seen the world lately? I have bipolar disorder because of ill-advised LSD experimentation at a Fish concert in high school. Probably. And I live with my mom in suburban New Jersey because all of my money's tied up in cryptocurrency. This is me. This is who I am. Which begs the question, do you guys know my mom? Do you guys know Pam? Do you guys know Pammy? Do you guys know my mom? Do you guys know Pamela? She's pretty cool. I love her a lot. But that being said, her primary email address is an optonline.net email address. Ugh. She uses the email that's given out by the cable provider as her default email. Gross. I can barely love her anymore. But that being said, she created a Gmail email address, and I think she needs to stick to the optonline.net because for real, the email address she created, the Gmail email address she created for real is lest we forget 9/11 at gmail.com. For real. And I was like, Mom, why did you create the email address lest we forget 9/11 at gmail.com? She was like, well, I was watching a commercial and there was a commercial for September 11th commemorative coins and I figured no one would have that email address. Yeah, no shit, no one has that email address. Could you imagine someone did? And she had to be like, lest we forget 911_1 at gmail.com. Got it. You can't, what's up? Welcome, guys. I couldn't possibly keep going on with my lest we forget 9/11 bit while you guys are sitting down in the front row. Hello, welcome, how are you? Plus it worked out well because the bit wasn't really working. So now I kind of get to bail on it and go to the next thing, which maybe will be good. We'll see what happens. I'll just be honest with you guys. I do have bipolar disorder. And I struggle with it. Like I've had these manic episodes, which are really challenging, where I'll have these kind of like grandiose, kind of crazy thoughts, and it'll really kind of burn a lot of bridges in my life. And then I'll be followed by these depressive episodes, and I really have to push hard to kind of push through that to kind of get back on track with my life. But sometimes after the fact, the stories are kind of funny. Like I compulsively spend money when I'm manic, like recklessly. And for real, one time when I was manic, I donated $1,000 to former Hawaii Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard's presidential campaign. Yeah, some Tulsi supporters, I get it, but she's kind of a controversial figure. But at the time, I donated $1,000 to her campaign because she was the most overtly anti-regime change war candidate, and because we were supposed to be together. At least that's kind of what I thought at the time. And guess what happens if you donate $1,000 to Tulsi Gabbard's presidential campaign? You get a phone call from her mother, Carol Gabbard. For real, she called me. And because at the time I was such an exuberant Tulsi supporter with such a deep dive knowledge of her political campaign and political history, me and Carol talked on the phone for like 40 minutes. Wow. Yeah. I was like, Carol, I can't believe the way the mainstream media is treating Tulsi. She's a war veteran, for God's sakes. She went to Syria on a fact-finding mission and saw that our government, the CIA, was arming all sorts of terrorist groups like ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and Al-Nusra. She then came back and introduced into Congress the Stop Arming Terrorists Act that didn't even get out of committee. Are you kidding me? And now CNN is trying to paint her as being an Assad apologist and a Putin puppet? Not cool. And then Carol was like, I know, it's crazy. My manic ramblings resonated with her 100% because they happen to be true. And here's what you guys need to understand is right around the time that I was donating this money, it was right when the mainstream media was trying to make all these unsubstantiated claims that the Russian propaganda machine was aligning itself behind Tulsi. And you guys know, I don't know if you know this, but I worked for a radical political comedy show called Redacted Tonight with Lee Camp for close to 5 years. And I am super proud of everything I got to do on that show. Also, it was predominantly funded by the Russian government. Whatever. No big deal. So yeah. So when I saw that they were saying that the Russian propaganda machine is aligning itself behind Tulsi, I was like, wait a minute, that's some bullshit. I work for the Russian propaganda machine. And that's not what's happening. And I'll be goddamn if I'm going to let this Russiagate nothing burger narrative take out Tulsi's chances at president, right? And for the record, I do not believe that Redacted Tonight was part of the Russian propaganda machine. I think that the show brilliantly used the platform it was given to amplify the voices of frontline workers and independent journalists, while at the same time telling the truth about what's really going on in our country, all amidst a very broken, whitewashed corporate media landscape. Yeah, thank you. Also, those rubles always came in on time, baby. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Big Daddy Vladdy. Oh, thank you, Big Daddy Vladimir Putin. All right, he's a monster. Okay, so is the U.S. and NATO. All right, NATO encroachment is real. There's a lot of neo-Nazis in the Ukraine. I don't want to talk about it. It's a complicated situation. All right. So yeah, I really thought they were going to use this red baiting of Tulsi to undermine her campaign. And if you paid attention at the time, that's actually really what they did. You know? So I had a plan. I had a manic plan of how I was going to stop this from happening. And I thought here's what I was going to do. I thought I was going to create this Russiagate breadcrumb trail for some hack corporate journalists to follow. And then when they would scurry down the rabbit hole, instead of finding Russian meddling at the bottom of it, they would find me. They would find me instead, the comedian boy, right? And they'd feel ridiculous about themselves. So here's what I decided to do. I found out that when you made the donation to Tulsi, you could put in the donation name. You could put any name that you wanted. So I put Goofy Grapes, right? And I put Goofy Grapes because, as all of you know, 13 years ago, Goofy Grapes was the alias that I created when I needed to take over temporary control of the internet in order to keep the neocons from erasing evidence of their war crimes from YouTube. We all know this. You guys all know this. And clearly, I had to create an alias so I didn't get assassinated, and clearly it worked because I'm still here. All right. Yeah. So that was the name. That was Goofy Grapes. Then for occupation, I put comedian, and then for employer, I put redacted tonight. And I was like, all right, I'm just gonna let this sit here and percolate and see what happens. And I don't think I've really let you know that there was the added bonus of the fact that I put Goofy Grapes as my name, is that when Tulsi's mom, when Carol Garrett called me, she did have to say, hello, is this the Goofy Grapes who donated $1,000 to my daughter's presidential campaign? I was like, this is Goofy Grapes, aka John F. O'Donnell. And I don't think I've really expressed to you just how endeared me and Carol were to each other, because that first phone call was not our only phone call. We spoke on the phone at least 4 more times after that. And yeah, sure, I initiated all of those phone calls. But she answered every time, and our rapport was undeniable. Anyway, cut to months and months later. I'm in and out of jail. I'm in and out of the hospital. I don't want to talk about it. I get a call from Lee, and Lee calls me, and he goes, hey, do you want to hear how you became part of a national news story for a couple of days? And I'm like, oh, fuck, what happened? And it turns out, you guys, my manic plan came to fruition. Are you guys familiar with the outlet, the Daily Beast, that online outlet? Yeah, it's bullshit. Yeah, it's a terrible piece of garbage outlet, but the Daily Beast, it's an online outlet with a somewhat substantial following. This is real. The Daily Beast, May 17th, 2019. The Daily Beast. Headline, Tulsi Gabbard's campaign is being boosted by Putin apologists. Second paragraph. Donors to her campaign in the first quarter of the year included Stephen F. Cohen, a Russian studies professor at New York University and prominent Kremlin sympathizer. Sharon Tennyson, a vocal Putin supporter who nonetheless found herself detained by Russian authorities in 2016. And an employee of the Kremlin-backed broadcaster RT who appears to have donated under the alias Goofy Grapes. It worked, you guys. My manic plan came to fruition for that stupid hack-ass corporate journalist. Amazing. Just instead of having the intended consequence of helping Tulsi, it had the unintended consequence of greatly contributing to me getting fired from my job. It's got to be the worst version of tomato ever. Oh, mania gets me again. But isn't that crazy, you guys? That actually happened like that? Oh, I never did the start thing. Last thing I'll say, just to lighten it up. Would you guys agree with me that the word bestiality sounds way too cool to mean what it means? It sounds like it should be oh shit. Well, you know what? Cenk Uygur sucks, dude. That dude is a tool. But anyway, would you guys agree with me? That the word bestiality sounds way too cool to mean what it means? It sounds like it should be a superpower, right? Don't mess with Steve, he's got bestiality. He can turn into a fucking panther. My name is Steve, I call upon my powers of bestiality. Not to fuck animals, but to fight crime, roar. Turn me into a condor, caw-caw, caw-caw, caw-caw. So I'm gonna send down from the heavens and stomp out evil, roar. The only animal I fuck is my wife, come on folks, roar. She looks like a horse, folks. Roar! Take my wife, please. Big up one time, Henny Youngman. Guys, I'm Jonathan O'Donnell. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Terrific, man. John F. O'Donnell. John F. O'Donnell. I can't hear myself here. Can you turn the...
It's working, leave it alone.
Well, when you're a performer, you like to be able to hear yourself on the monitor, okay? John F. O'Donnell, once again, give him a big round of applause. Are you enjoying the show so far? We are here for Julian Assange, and we're going to be here. We're going to be here late. Can you handle that? I got my Walter Brennan suspenders on here. That's for the people over 90 like me. It's a Walter Brennan impression. Is you all right, little Luke? All right. God, that's what I was an impressionist. I was in Vegas in 1975, and I was doing impressions. I was doing James Mason. I was doing Fred McMurray and George C. Scott and Jack Nicholson and all these different voices. Howard Cosell. Oh, Muhammad Ali. Joe Frazier's no good. That's what I used to do, seriously. Walter Matthau on the Examiner, your copy will be sacred. You remember that, right? You remember what I used to do back then. I was a hack impressionist, and I read this book called The Trial, the Chicago conspiracy trial, and Mort Saul said to me, you gotta read more, fuck those impressions. And so I started doing political impressions and got politically involved, and Reagan won, and Red Button said move to New York. I moved to New York and said, all right, this is great, and got involved in all these political causes, and my fucking career went south. But looking back, who cares? We're not doing this for fame. We're doing it. You got one life. This life, like the Spanish Civil War, like Spartacus, like Toussaint Louverture in Baku in Haiti, like the Civil Rights Movement, the Women's Movement, and so many others, as Cornel West would say, is a cause. This cause for Julian Assange, like those I just mentioned and so many others, is worth going to prison for or dying for, all right? The cause for Julian Assange is worth going to prison or dying for. It's not just for him, it's for this, whatever's left of this fledgling ersatz democracy that we live in. Whatever we have to fight, this is it, we are in a foxhole. If he goes, I'm not gonna have my show at WBAI. Margaret Kimberly's not gonna have her show, Black Agenda Report, and Aaron Mate's not gonna have his show on the Gray Zone. They'd like to shut them all down. And Katie Halper will not have the Katie Halper show. And it just so happens that Katie Halper is not only a great comedian, a great podcaster and radio host, but she's also an activist, also the only person I trust holding my dog while I'm up on stage, because my dog absolutely loves Katie Halper. And so Katie, who is with Useful, how you doing, Pete Alexius? A lot of people got in free tonight. It was Peter Alexius, my friend from Greece over there. He doesn't like to be mentioned. He looks like Diogenes in the corner. Bought a lot of the seats tonight. Thank you, Diogenes. Are you with number 5 tonight or number 4? Number 4. 5. 5, all right. That's what he calls. He's got 5 daughters. He knows them by their numbers. He's a radical guy's a radical as they come. And we love the film The Guns of Navarone. All right. That's such an inside story. All right, so Katie's going to come up here, Katie Halper, and she's going to give me the dog, and she's going to bring on somebody that can tell you that the whole Roger Stone thing was a complete farce and Russiagate was a complete farce and all of that. Someone that had investigated it and disseminated it better than anybody consistently, and that's Aaron Mate. But we're going to bring on Katie Halper. She's going to do a set and bring on Aaron Mate. Katie.
Hi, everyone. Hi, guys. This is Sophia. Isn't she cute?
Give her a round of applause, folks.
All right. I'm gonna put. Oh, sorry. No, she's no Bodie. Thank you.
She's really mean. She likes to bite people.
Hi, everyone. How's it going? Good. All right. It's great to be here. Why the mask? Oh, really? We're going to get into that? Oh, my God. Yeah, that's good. Anything else you'd like to divide the left with? Because, like, there's not enough. There's not enough. Let's have it out, guys. Let's have it out. Seriously, does the CIA pay you for that, or you just, like, offer it yourself? All right. Why the mask? Because I don't want to, because there's a lot of halitosis in the space. Am I right? That's the line. There, she crossed the line. No, it's great to be here. I have asthma. Is that okay? Thank you. Oh my God, Jesus. I'm like, I should just join the right. I'd be such a well-dressed person on the right. It'd be really, really easy. Don't drag her. All right, this is good. I like this. This is good. It's like when you're doing a set, but it's also kind of like torture. It's the best thing. That actually was not a good joke to make in this context. I'm sorry. I really am sorry. And I'm really sorry that, like, I'd really rather be here under better circumstances. It's terrible news. Like, every resistance lib who talks about Trump and how he was attacking the fourth estate should be up in arms about this. And anyone who's not, just ask them why they're on the side of Donald Trump instead of Barack Obama. I'm not a big Obama fan.
They're all the same shit.
Yeah. All right. Thanks. Right, but we're trying to reach people who like Obama, so that's not a useful argument. Let's just workshop our arguments, okay? But yeah, that's true. Praise. Amen. Same thing. Corporate duopoly. Yes. All right. What else? All right. I feel like there's prisoners here also. Is that also? You guys are like really recreating exactly everything we're condemning, which is good. Thank you. Okay, awesome. All right. This is like 12 Angry Men meets Jacques. I like it. All right, so let's see. What should we talk about? Today's terrible. The news is terrible, but we're going to keep on keeping on, as Randy said. By the way, anyone who thinks that Randy was involved in anything, you're here at his show, right? How late did it start? Like, Russiagate couldn't really happen. Well, it didn't happen, and we're going to get to that shortly. But I'll just introduce myself very quickly. My name's Katie Halper. I'm from the Upper West Side, so I'm a native New Yorker. I'm the product of a mixed marriage. My dad is a Queensian Jew, and my mom's a Bronxian Jew, and they were part of the Great Migration from the outer boroughs to Manhattan's Upper West Side. They were looking for a better life as close to Zabar's as possible, and they found it. I was raised very political. My parents used to tell me stories when I was going to bed. Instead of like singing me lullabies or telling me fairy tales, they'd tell me stories from the anti-war movement, the pro-peace movement, the civil rights movement. So when I was a 5-year-old, I thought that my mom, she told me she went to the March on Washington, but I thought that she had a sleepover with her friend who told her about a dream he had, and that his name was King Martin Luther. But my mom did not have a sleepover with Martin Luther King, although, let's be honest, a lot of other women did. Thanks. Yeah. Boo. Why are you condemning Martin Luther King? Not cool. This is not a space for booing Martin Luther King. Take him out of here. So she did, though, come close to having a sleepover with another civil rights leader who doesn't have as much cred as MLK. My mom did briefly date Marion Barry, who would become the mayor of D.C. before being forced to step down amidst a crack cocaine prostitution scandal. Sex work scandal. Like, we haven't all been there. Raise your hand if you haven't. Yeah. All right, thank you. One person, yeah. They met at a SNCC event. You know, out of all the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee meetings in all the towns and in all the world, she had to walk into his. But it's not as cool like when your mom dates Marion Barry. You can't really use that the way you could. Like if my dad was ever yelling at me and I didn't want to listen to him, if my mom had dated MLK or Malcolm X, I'd be like, I don't have to listen to you. You're not my father. Martin Luther King is my father. Doesn't work with Marion Barry. I learned that the hard way. What else? So I'm a Jew, but I'm a secular Jew. Yeah, thank you. Let's hear it. Let's hear it for the boys, the Jews, the boys. So I'm a secular Jew. So we didn't celebrate any like religious holidays. The only religious holiday we celebrated was Passover. And I thought that was like a black holiday because we started talking about the slaves in Egypt and then the civil rights movement, well, also slavery, and then we'd wind up in like the Israeli occupation of Palestine. And speaking of that, but speaking of the Israeli occupation of Palestine, Julian Assange gave us a lot of valuable information about that. So we know about like the attempts of Israel and Turkey to overthrow Assad. We know that Israel wanted to keep Gaza in like the lowest economic position possible. And the news out of Israel is always very dismal. Very dismal, understatement, right? But one of the scariest stories I ever heard from Israel was this Jewish woman who met a Palestinian man. She didn't know he was Palestinian though, she thought he was Jewish. They met at a supermarket. They had sex in the supermarket. Right? Where are my Jewish sisters at? We've all been there, right? Okay. Had sex in the supermarket, and then she found out he wasn't Jewish. She took him to court. I'm not even kidding. This is so dystopian. She took him to court, and he was convicted of rape via deception. No, I'm not even kidding. I know it's not kidding, right? And that's so disturbing on so many levels. But it also was very disturbing to me, extra disturbing to me, because I'm kind of ethnically ambiguous. So just like on a self-interested level, it's like I could be a serial rapist. That was supposed to be funny, but I'm glad you guys actually entertained it as a possible. You're like, oh, good call. Me too. Yes, me too. Very, very serious. Anyway, honestly, I'll just leave you guys with these wise words, which is that I'm really surprised that Joseph Biden isn't more sympathetic to Julian Assange. After all, he too has served time behind bars when he was arrested trying to visit Nelson Mandela. He also knows what it's like to be deprived of sunlight because of his time toiling in the mines. And he knows what it's like to stare power in the eye and not back down, which he did with Corn Pop. A bad dude. But speaking of bad dudes, I'm about to bring up a good dude. How do you like that segue? You're welcome, Aaron Mate. So we're bringing up this guy. I'm a little biased because I do co-host a show with him called Useful Idiots. But he's an amazing journalist. I believe one of his nicknames is Buzzsaw, Aaron. He's a great journalist, great co-host. He does amazing work, and he is someone who, all of his critics, they can only smear him. They can never engage in the substantive arguments about his work. So bringing up to the stage, Andrew, what? Why did I say that? That was so weird. Sorry, I just got really distracted. No, I know his name. Thank you. I know. I talk to him all the time. That's so weird. Okay, sorry. Guys, edit that out. Okay. Bring up to the stage. I'm hot in this mask. Bring up to the stage, Aaron Mate.
Thanks, Cody.
We love you, Andrew.
Thank you. Great to be here. Yeah, thanks for having me. Let me first acknowledge what an honor it is to be in the presence of Julian's family, John and Gabriel Shipton.